Hi everyone, this is Harshdeep and I'm the founder and CEO of Legitt AI. For those who don't know what Legitt AI does is we at Legitt have a platform that helps in managing the contract lifecycle end to end. So right from drafting to negotiating, redlining, signing, and post-signing management of contracts, everything on a single platform. We'll go to that later or maybe in subsequent videos. But in this video, I just wanted to take the users through what exactly is contract lifecycle management. I've seen a lot of SMBs or startups who are new in business, have a wonderful product or services for their customers, but do not understand how to manage contracts for providing these services and selling these products to their customers. So what we will do is we will go through the complete process, try to understand what exactly contract management is, why is it important for a business, and why you should be actually using a contract lifecycle management platform. So what happens is all of us know there is no business across the globe that can actually survive without signing contracts with its various stakeholders. It's not just customers. There are a lot of stakeholders where we, as a business, end up signing contracts, be it your employees, be it your customers, be it your vendors, be it agencies that manage your compliance or external stakeholders, including your investors, some government agencies. There are a lot of agencies or a lot of internal and external stakeholders where, as a business, you end up signing contracts. So now, what exactly is contract life cycle? Okay, so contract life cycle has six key stages where you start with we'll come to an additional stage of requesting a contract. So before you start drafting a contract, there is a request or a reason to start drafting the contract. So first step is to create a contract, which we actually in legal language call drafting of a contract. You draft a contract, which is the first version, then it is to be reviewed. So when I say reviewed, it can be an internal review, which might involve multiple parties, including the legal team within your organization, or if you are a small SMB or a small team, do not have legal in-house, you might have a retainer, a law firm on retainer that might review it, and then the commercials, which can be the business or the sales team, and in on top of it can be your external stakeholder, which we call the counterparty. So can be reviewed by the first party, which is you, and then the counterparty, which is signing the contract. So that's the review stage, and then it goes to approve that okay, all the changes, all the negotiations that we have done in the contract, be it on legal clauses or on the commercials that are involved. Finally, both the parties have approved it. Mind you, approving and signing are two different things. Approving can be from multiple parties, but multiple parties within your organization. For example, I mentioned legal, business, or the senior management or external stakeholders. They approve it, and then the signing authorities or the authorized signatories from both the parties, party one or and the counterparty, they sign the contract. Once it is signed, it goes to what we call storage or the contract repository. You store the document. Once it is stored, you start managing the life cycle of the contract post signing. A lot of people I have seen spend a lot of time on creation, review, approve, and signing, and then they forget about these contracts. The actual life cycle of a contract starts after it is signed. So there might be various payment milestones. In case of sales contracts, we have to make we receive payments from the customers. In case of vendor contracts, we make payment to the vendor. So all those milestones are embedded in the contracts and have to be managed. And then at the end of the contract life of the contract, either it has to be renewed into the new term, or it has to be expired. So if it is a one term kind of a contract, we expire it. If it is to be renewed, we extend it by one more term. So that's the complete life cycle of a contract, starting from creation, review, negotiation, redlining, and approval, execution of the contract, which is actually signing by both the parties, then putting it into a repository where all the contracts are stored, and tracking the post signing life cycle of the contract. So now what happens is, yeah. So what happens is most businesses or most users, they actually treat contracts as just documents. Okay. But what we feel, I especially feel, and um, we have the Legit AI platform where we actually do not treat contracts as documents. We treat them as a data set which is actually an asset to the organization, much more than a document. So what do I mean when I say this? Okay, it's not just a PDF. First of all, there are revenue commitments. So when you have a contract signed with your customers, they make a commitment to you for giving you revenue in lieu of the services or products that they take from you. Okay, very important for an organization to survive, because revenue means a lot for an organization. And then the payment terms. Okay, now they have used your product or are about to use your product. Do they pay before they use the services or after they use the services, or there are various milestones that have to be achieved on certain parameters, and then they make the payments? What are the renewal dates? First of all, is there a active auto renewal clause or not? Does it automatically renew, or is it a 1 year, 3 year, or a 5 year contract? When does exactly the contract renew, and what's the termination right? So if midway we have to terminate it, a contract, what are the rights of the first party or the counterparty? And then the legal risks, we call it the risk registry. So every contract might have clauses which might pose a risk to you or to the counterparty. And when there are a bunch of contracts, we have to manage and take care of all these risky clauses, and we call it the risk registry. It's very important for managing, which businesses end up ignoring. And then last is, what are the customer obligations and the vendor obligations? Remember, for our customers, we are the vendor. For vendors providing services to us, we become the customer and they become the vendor for us. But whether you are a customer or a vendor, whether you are receiving or consuming services or products, or you are supplying services or products to your customers, there are obligations that you have to meet. Okay. Many of these obligations are actually connected to payment milestones. You achieve certain milestones, you get paid. Your vendor achieves certain milestones and they get paid. Okay. Very important for managing in the contract, because if you end up missing any of these obligations, you fall on the wrong side of compliance, and then a lot of issues might arrive. You might lose revenue, you might lose the contract itself, there might not be any renewal, or you might get into legal issues. Very important for managing the obligations. Now, since a lot of SMBs do not focus much on, uh, especially the post signing life cycle of the contract, what happens is, as I mentioned earlier, they'll spend a lot of time on drafting the contract, negotiating the commercials, and then signing it. And after signing, it's just lying as an attachment in the email, or maybe Google Drive, or local machines in maybe CRM. or finance might have a copy, legal might have another copy. There is no single source of truth. In fact, there is a trivia why we named Legitt AI as Legitt is because we want to make Legitt AI as a single source of truth for all your contracts. So once once these contracts are spread over multiple locations, say sometimes it's just lying in your email or maybe Google Dropbox or as an attachment in a finance spreadsheet. All these teams manage the contract in a very disconnected manner. Finance may be just focusing on the payment milestones. Legal might be just focusing on the risks and the clauses which are there in the contract, and so on. What CLM does is a contract lifecycle management application, as such, does is it creates a single source of truth for all the teams to refer to and manage the contract once it is signed. Now let's drill down further into what actually a CLM does. Okay, one, as I said before, even we start drafting the contract, there has to be a request. So somebody from the organization, be it the, say in case of sales contracts, it will be the sales team or the sales manager who has sold the product or services to the customer, finalized all the details, maybe offline or in verbal commitments or email, and then creates a request for the legal team to create the contract. Similarly, on the vendor side, the procurement team or the sourcing team creates a sourcing event, finalizes a vendor, and then for the services or products that you internally want to consume from the vendor, there's a request raised to create a vendor contract. So once the request is raised, it it can be manually raised within the CLM, or you can integrate an external applications, for example, Oracle Fusion or Salesforce. There is an opportunity created. Once the opportunity is closed, there is a request that is automatically triggered from Salesforce. In fact, Legit AI, we have integrated with Oracle Fusion, we have integrated with Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, Monday CRM, where you can automatically raise the request with all the customer information and the product or services information captured from the opportunity in these systems. And second is draft. So then majority of the cases, um, the companies have their templates and the clause library. So there can be three things. One, templates. So you can pick up a template, edit it with the information of the customer and the product and services and the commercials. Or for legal, companies have clause libraries where all the clauses are approved by the legal team. You can pick and choose those clauses, whatever are applicable, and add to the clause. Or there are benchmark contracts. So these can be contracts that we created for other customers in the past, and we consider that these are the till now the best contract that we have ever created. And any contract that we now create has to be at this level or better than this contract. So those are benchmark contracts. Once the drafting is done, so now what Legit AI does is, and we'll discuss in detail when we create another video on Legit, is it can automate the drafting of the contract based on the product or services, the customer details. It automatically picks up the template, and if it has to be further customized, it automatically suggests the user or automatically can pick up the clauses from the clause library or from the benchmark contracts and draft the final version of the contract. And then it can be reviewed. The legal review can be done, the commercial review by the business team can be done on the total amount of the contract, value of the contract, and the milestones. And then once all this is finalized, the contract is approved. That okay, this is approved by both the parties and can be sent for signing to the authorized signatories. So every contract would have two parties, one that proposes the contract, second that accepts the contract and signs it. The difference between an agreement and a contract is, so at the stage of approval, it is just an agreement. Once An agreement is signed by both the parties. A legally enforceable agreement is called a contract. So it can be legally enforced by both the parties. So that's the importance of signing. It can be offline, online, digitally. What Legit AI helps is one, you can create complete workflow of say collaborators, reviewers, approvals, and we have native legit sign on the platform. So you can integrate, you can do it by DocuSign or Adobe Sign. Legit AI also integrates with both DocuSign and Adobe Sign, but also has its native capability of signing the contracts, digitally signing the contracts, legally binding signatures. So both the options are available, and most of the CLMs. It's either integration with external e-signature tools, or they would have their own native e-signature capabilities. Last is the tracking. So once the contract is executed, the signing of contract by both the parties, in legal language, we call it execution of the contract, and then we start the tracking. Remember, more than 90% of the life of a contract happens after it is signed. So all the activities, I would say 90% of the activities on the contract happen after the signing, and 100% of the life of a contract happens after it is signing. So life of a contract actually starts on the execution date. And then a CLM would actually help you track the milestones, or renewal dates, or the obligations that they are in the contract. Legit AI is a AI native platform, and you do not have to manually track these details. It automatically extracts once the contract is signed. It automatically extracts the obligations, alerts, monetary alerts, non-monetary obligations. So all those details, and creates a single pipeline for you. And we'll go to that in detail. Last, why does CLM matter to SMBs? A lot of SMBs or small teams that I have, even large enterprises that we engage on a daily basis, they kind of treat contracts as passive, not only assets but passive drag on their business process. A lot of even the sales folks, they consider the contracting process that actually slows down the sales cycle, or the legal teams, they consider it a kind of a burden that they have to go through. But it is really important. One, a CLM, especially something like Legit AI, which is purely AI native agentic framework, would actually help you close deals faster. So right from request, it would actually eliminate, and with many of our customers, we have actually eliminated 80% of the manual labor or manual effort that they used to put, and help you create the contract much faster, help in automated reviews, and then close the deals much faster than manually you would do, or offline you would do. And then also reduce the legal bottlenecks. So most of the legal teams have a playbook or a checklist that they go through manually. What we actually do at Legit AI is have automated this complete process using AI, and what used to take maybe a few hours or a few days has been reduced a few seconds, or maybe a couple of minutes. And then when the obligations come, you do not lose on the revenue that is signed in contracts. In fact, there is a statistics that companies across the globe, they lose 9 to 11% of the revenue which is signed and embedded in their contracts, maybe because of mismanagement of milestones, issue of renewals of contracts, and then they are not able to properly track the obligations, which might end up say you landing on the wrong side of compliance and getting into legal issues. And then last two is one, if you have to search a contract or search uh, certain details within a contract, a CLM ensures that it is, you do not have to struggle. So most of the legacy applications or CLMs, they still act as document storage. So you can find the contract and then have to manually go through those contracts. But I mean, AI native CLMs like Legitt AI, you can actually chat with Agent Lana in Legitt and find the information that you are looking for. Last is again very important, but again we end up managing not managing it properly, is reduce the business risk. So risk is on the losing on the revenue side, or maybe missing on renewals, or maybe contracts expiring or being terminated because we did not manage the obligations properly. And the second is the legal risk. So it helps you actually avoid legal issues with your customers or external stakeholders. So now, how Legit AI can help. Okay, so Legit AI is a AI native platform which actually helps converting contracts chaos into intelligence. So that's something that we do. In layman's language, something which is considered as very static and a drag on the business contracts, we convert it into living, intelligent assets for the business, which can actually be used for one, reducing the risk of revenue leakage or missing out on revenue; two, increasing the revenue by using the contracts for cross-sell upsell opportunities. So what Legit AI enables is to reduce the cycle time of creation of contracts because everything is automated. Review what has to be done manually can now be done using AI with your playbooks, your clause library, and the templates. Collaborate within the teams rather than doing offline collaboration over mails, redlining, negotiation, all those details. You can actually collaborate on the platform. Send the signature right from the platform. You do not have to download and then again upload to DocuSign or Adobe Sign. We have our native e-sign capability. You can do that. And then is the repository functionality. You store the contracts in Legit AI repository, which is always analyzed and reviewed by AI, and it creates very intuitive dashboards, reports, and intelligent insights on the contracts which are actionable. So you can actually take actions against the insights that Legit AI creates you. Most of these around say the obligations, alerts, monetary milestones, non-monetary milestones, the risks that you have. So Legit AI helps you create a risk register for your entire repository for each of the contracts, as well as customer wise repositories. So you might have multiple contracts with a single customer. It'll create a single risk registry for that customer. And then you can ask questions to AI, which we call Agent Lana, across the repository, across the contract lifecycle. Who approved this contract? When is this contract due? Give me a list of contracts that are expiring in next 30 days. So that kind of questions you can ask and create alerts on top of those questions. Now, if you have any queries, I'm sharing my own email ID, harshdeep.rapal@legitai.com. You can drop in a mail there. You can schedule a demo of Legit AI. I would love to take you through the capabilities or the functionality of Legit AI and understand your requirements. Or you can drop in a mail at info@legitai.com, and you can also go through our website legitai.com. And if you are exploring, if you are a small team exploring Legit Lite, so we have two versions of the product, Legit Lite and Legit Pro. Legit Pro for slightly larger customers and enterprise customers. If you are a small team, do not have any integrations and want to use the Legit platform independently as a standalone platform, you can create your own account and explore the capabilities in a 14-day free trial. Or I would say drop in a mail to me, schedule a demo. Me or my team would love to take you through the details and understand your requirements. Thank you.